Good morning, good morning. This is December 23, and this is number 10 video of the series An American Experience. I want to go over a chapter. This is it here. Boom. Anyway, written by Martin Bolt, which is me. Some of these chapters are, well, let me start. It's supposed to be a comparison between the United States and Germany / Europe, how life is different in certain aspects. So every once in a while, it's kind of a wild, weird book. You have a chapter which just has as a subject matter, something totally different. In other words, not a comparison between these two cultures, but a general opinionated, personal idea about something. And this time it is the Matrix movie. It starts at 172. Now, the Matrix movies, the first movie was, no matter how you look at it, no matter if you're a fan of science fiction, action or not, was a stroke of genius. You can have, not really, in my opinion, you cannot really have a different opinion about the first Matrix movie than that it was a genius movie. It was just awesome. Okay, now it went downhill from there. And my opinion about that is that in the second installment and in the third installment, but mainly in the second installment, there's all these different factors involved which are introduced in that movie in the second installment that weren't there in the first one. You know, you got the key maker, you got the Frenchman, you got the train man, you got the guard of the Frenchman. These two twin brothers, whatever they're supposed to be, and the transition from Agent Smith is further developed. How he manages from going from the virtual world into the real world, and so on and so forth. So that's quite a number of changes and new takes in the same world, which I don't think a lot of people were prepared for. You know, you had to think a little bit. You had to pay attention a little bit. You know, it is an action movie. It's supposed to be an action movie. It was a science fiction movie. It's a science fiction movie. And the first installment was pretty straightforward. You know, you still can follow it even if you go in the kitchen and grab a cup of coffee. In the meantime, you can lose 5 minutes of the movie and still catch up and know what's going on. Not so, I think, in the second and third one. If you miss a hint of somewhere, you lost. Let's say the one scene where Agent Smith takes off his earpiece. To me, it was a very significant point in the series, because it tells you, okay, he disconnected himself from the Matrix, or from the confinement, so to speak, of the Matrix himself, and lives his own life, goes his own path. And yet it was, merely a few seconds in the movie. But if you miss that, you wonder, okay, why is he in the physical world now? What is going on? Why is he threatening the machine world? And so on. So you kind of lose a little bit of story, which is important to follow in that movie, because, as I said, all these different factors are just mind-boggling. And another thing is, I think where the series lost a lot of its grounds established in the first movie was in the special effects department. I don't think there is a big flaw in the first one as far as special effects is concerned, but come to the second movie, you can see, let's say, in the fight Neo has with 50 agents in the backyard of some building and stuff like that, and also the final fight between him and Agent Smith. If you take that, you can see, especially as a science fiction fan, that the special effects or the quality of the computer generated special effects were not there at all. You have to remember that Terminator 2, just to give you one example, came out about the same time, I think a little earlier than the second installment of the movie. And that, for instance, was flawless. You know, they put a lot of money and effort into creating these special effects and make them seamless. You know, there is no difference between uh, camera and computer generated environment as far as the viewer is concerned. It's all very seamless, very professional. Of course, that was directed by James Cameron, and he, I think, is a professional in his own league as far as filmmaking is concerned. But you notice it. You cannot make a movie which lacks special effect quality when there was already Terminator 2 released and in broad circulation in the public. So that also took a lot away, as far as I'm concerned, from the Matrix movies, from the second and third installment. Of course, they did good on the on the big fight in the real world. Dock is breached and whatever have you, but there is a lot of lacking quality in the CGI department in the second and third installment of the Matrix movie, and that took a lot away from the not from the general public. They might have not even noticed it, maybe unconsciously, but from their fan base. Matrix 1, big fan base, huge success, no matter where you look and stuff like that. Maybe not so much for women, or you know what I'm talking about. So, or let me rephrase that. Maybe not so much for people who don't like science fiction movies. Yet it was a groundbreaking science fiction movie slash action movie. You saw things which you have never seen before, and the story, the idea is just amazing. It's just awesome. Of course, generally it's a love story, and they kind of wrapped that in there between him and Trinity, Neo and Trinity. But be that as it may, so the second movie was much more complicated. So you lost a lot of the general cinema going public. Okay, second and third. And you also lost a lot of film geeks like me and tech geeks like me due to the lack of quality in the CGI department. So the second and third movie was disappointing as far as that is concerned. And I think that's why these movies have a certain different rep as the first one had. And that's just the end of the story. Of course, it was very complex. Even in the first movie, you have to realize, you have to think a little bit. Okay, why is that environment green now, or with a greenish filter, and the supposedly real world looks different on the screen? You have to get to that. It's not something which had been done before. So you kind of think to yourself, and I had to see the movie 2 or 3 times to realize what is going on. And I think I actually read a article about an interview with the directors to discover that was the reason. But that's just me, and many people who just go to the movies because they go to the movies, like we do the Who, need to get behind that, and many people weren't willing to do that. The advertisement for the movie didn't say, okay, this is an action flick, this is a science fiction movie, but this is also a movie you have to think, you have to pay attention to details sometimes, even more so in the second and third installment of the series. And if you don't do that, if you just go in the movie and say, oh, it's another action flick, it's another science fiction movie, you don't get things. And you really have to pay attention. And not many people were prepared for that. If they would have advertised a movie, okay, this is a science fiction slash action flick, and also something you need to pay attention to closely, because some scenes are important for the further development of the storyline. And They didn't say that, of course, nobody ever does that, but it would have been a good idea in that regard that you put something there, or, I don't know how they would have done it, but the end result was that not many people uh, saw the second and third installment as a, big advancement or an advancement or an improvement overall to the first installment. And of course, not to not to mention, nothing is solved really in the end. It's still the same as per the movie happened 6 times before or whatever have you. It is still the same. Nothing is solved. The machine world is still there. The matrix is still there. They might have the potential to free some more humans from their confinements, but basically, the end of the third movie didn't solve nothing, didn't bring no resolution, was nothing going on. And it can work, but it works better in things like Terminator. Terminator is like, this time machine, blah, blah, blue, and you can do whatever you want, really, as evidenced by Terminator Genesis. You can do whatever you want, and you can develop and create the story no matter what, no matter how, because you have the advantage of time machine and whatever have you. But in the Matrix movie, they don't have the time machine. They tell the story in real time, more or less. And to not have an end or a resolution at the end of the third installment was kind of a downer. You know, you walk out of the film and say, okay, we don't know if Neo is dead or not, and we don't know who wins finally. That needs to be added. It's been whatever 10 years or 8 years, and we need to have basically one at least, if not two more movies in that series to conclude it, to tell us, okay, the machine world is either dead, or the humans are all dead, or somebody is victorious over the other party. Some such, some such thing. And that hasn't happened yet. So it left a lot to be desired at the end. So anyway, here we go. That's what I think is about the Matrix movies. It's again a very personal opinion, as is the whole book, and it's very how I say, unrestricted and unfiltered, so to speak. So everybody can make up its own mind and its own opinion about it. But that's just one little chapter in it, the Matrix movies. Thank you.